Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 School Board Regular Meeting. The time is now 6 p.m. The school board would like to take this moment to respectfully acknowledge we are residing on the traditional land of the Dene people. Our mission is to provide an excellent, equitable education in a safe, supportive environment so all students will succeed and contribute to a diverse and changing society. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mrs. Matheson. Thank you. Could we please get the roll call?
Ms. Smith is excused. Colonel Alvarado,
Here.
Colonel Surrey,
Here.
Mr. Sampson,
Here.
Mrs. Matheson,
Here.
Mr. Doran
Here via Zoom.
via Zoom, Mrs. Sanderson,
Here.
Ms. Maradi is excused. Mrs. Smith,
Here.
Mrs. Luke.
Here.
Thank you. The board has a quorum.
Thank you. We're going to just do a quick swap here, but we're going to do the school board member recognition of Matthew Sampson. Core value, maintain high expectations and educational opportunities to inspire high achievement. Matthew Sampson, school board member, will be recognized for his 3 years of school board service by our fearless leader, Mrs. Moline.
Thank you, President Luke. This evening, we want to take time to honor our outgoing board member, Matthew Sampson. Mr. Sampson was born and raised right here in the Golden Heart City. He is a husband and a proud father of three. His desire to help and ensure all students within the district received the best possible education was the main driving factor in stepping in to a stewardship role as a school board member. His relentless efforts through countless hours of attention to district matters has helped shape the direction the district is headed. With his assistance and the others here in the room today, issues relating to public education are closer to the forefront of the public's minds. And I would just like to say that isn't that the main function of an elective office? To not only listen to the community, but to act as a vessel in return that informs the community on matters pertaining to their children. Thank you, Mr. Sampson, for your dedication to serve as a voice not only for students and parents, but also the community.
Mr. Sampson, if you'll just stand up so everybody could see you here. And thank you so much for your service. It's not an easy feat to be sitting in one of these seats. And so I applaud each and every one of you and Mr. Sampson for the hours, the days, the months, the years of service that you have put forth. Thank you so much for being on this school board. Next, we have school board member recognition of myself, Jennifer Luke. It's a little awkward to say that, but core value, maintain high expectations and educational opportunities to inspire high achievement. Board President Jennifer Luke will be recognized for my 3 years of school board service by Mrs. Moline.
Thank you, President Luke. Tonight we are recognizing Jennifer Luke, a longtime member of the Fairbanks community. Jennifer was born into service. She spent her youth moving among duty stations as a middle child in a military family, taught Spanish, and served an 18-month church mission during her years as a college student. As an adult, living life here in her chosen home of Fairbanks, she has done everything from driving a tour bus to Prudhoe Bay to showcasing many of the community's businesses through advertising on KTVF Channel 11, to working hard to raise funds and build partnerships for our community's nonprofits through her work as a board member and executive director of the United Way of the Tanana Valley. And then most recently, coming into service of our community's families for the last 3 years as an elected member of the school board and then as a school board president. She met and married Michael, her husband of 13 years, right here in Fairbanks, and together they've built a family of 7 children, countless friends, and of course those friends who have become family. She's dedicated herself to the people and the passions dearest to her and the lives and lives publicly her values of family, friendship, and community.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moline. It's been an honor. I actually have a little bit of something I want to share, but I'm going to share my thoughts during my president's remarks time. But thank you.
And if I might, just with a few final words to both of our outgoing board members. These 2 board members have served during probably the most challenging time in recent history for our community and our country. And as time passes, future generations are going to look back at the global pandemic that we've just experienced, and I hope that they speak reverently and respectfully of the tremendous struggles that individuals on public school boards experienced through this time and how they led in the very best way they could. So thank you for your service not only to the school board, but in this particular point in history on the school board.
Thank you, Mrs. Moline. Ms. Sanderson?
Thank you, President Luke. I would not let this opportunity go by without thanking Mr. Sampson and yourself for your leadership. When you get elected from your community, from people who believe in you and what you stand for and what you represent, and you do the best work that you can do with information that's given to you, and the things that weigh up on your heart, on your spirit, on your mind, you want to make sure that students are first. That's the number one commitment for running for this office, being in this chair. You won't say everything that people will agree with you on. Sometimes people can be so unkind. The world we're living in right now is very unkind at times. And we forget when people pour themselves into positions of leadership, they're doing it and they're putting themselves on the line, very much like a soldier would when they go to fight for our country. Every public service body of work that people are doing, performing across the United States and our nation, based on your own soul values, your own belief systems, and the values that you bring. But it's also a place of passion, and it's a place of saying, I want to make a difference. And both of these people, whether you've agreed with them or not, they've had to take hits with unkind words, unkind emails, and things that have really publicly attacked them as human beings. At the bottom line, that's what we all are. We're humans. We don't always agree. We don't always say the things that make everyone happy. But when you pour yourself into public works, you know that all of those things are coming your way. But the bottom line is you can lay your head down and say, you know what? Today I put my best work forward because it was all about the students that I serve and the staff in my community that I come from. So I appreciate the work that both of you have done, and it has been a pleasure. It's been interesting, and we've bumped heads, but I respect you for the work and your ethic that you brought to this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanderson. I apologize. I got kicked off of Zoom, so let me just go ahead and get back on to make sure if Mr. Doran has his hand up. Sorry, Mr. Doran, I got kicked off for a moment there. Mr. Doran.
Thank you. I really appreciated Ms. Sanderson's comments. But,
Mr.
and I
Doran, could
just
you
wanted to add
turn your
first-
volume up a little bit, please?
Okay. Let's see, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Can, okay. I appreciated Ms. Sanderson's comments, and I wanted to just add a personal note to thank both Mrs. Luke and Mr. Sampson for your service on the board. You have helped me in my thinking and pushing me a little bit to think of things from different perspectives, which is what helps to enrich our discussions and conversation as we all work for the benefit of students. And I appreciate the care and the interest that you have brought forward to your positions on the board. And so I just really want to say thank you for that service and to really wish each of you the best as you continue in perhaps other ways of serving our community, because I know you will do that and carry on your love of kids in particular. So thank you very much for what you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Doran. And my love of kiddos is actually what made my choice to not run again this year. If you are in the audience, you can see my 7 kiddos here to support their mama. So, with my husband. But we'll talk about that later. Let me compose myself first. Let's go to the adoption of the agenda. The core value is center everything we do on the student and student learning. Consent agenda items marked with an asterisk are considered routine items not requiring public discussion by the school board. Unless removed from the consent agenda, asterisk items will be automatically approved when the agenda is adopted. Questions concerning these items should be directed to the administration before the meeting. If the superintendent or a member of the public wishes to have an item removed from the consent agenda, the request must be made to a board member any time prior to the start of the meeting. The board member has the discretion to accept or deny the request. Only a board member may remove an item from the consent agenda. If an item is removed from the consent agenda, it shall be considered separately as the last item of new business. Asterisk items will then be adopted by one single motion. Can I get a motion?
Move to adopt the agenda with consent items.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded. Can we get the call of the vote?
Colonel Surrey,
Yes.
Colonel Alvarado,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Luke.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Can we please get the presentation of agenda items, Mrs. Moline?
Yes, thank you. Accept the award in the amount of $150 for the school improvement grant from the United States Department of Education through the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. Accept the award in the amount of $1 million of the grants to military-connected local education agencies for academic and support programs from the United States Department of Defense and Education Activity. Accept to award in the amount of $1,415,000 for the Alaska 21st Century Community Learning Center grants from the United States Department of Education through the Alaska Department of Education and Early Development. Approve Arctic Light Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,500 by hosting Scholastic Book Fair on October 31st through November 1st, 2022 to help with supplies for the library. Approve Arctic Light Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,500 by hosting Scholastic Book Fair on February 21st through February 22nd, 2023 to help with supplies for the library. Approve Arctic Light Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,500 by hosting Scholastic Book Fair on May 8th through May 12th, 2023 to help with supplies for the library. Approve Arctic Lake Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,800 by auctioning off themed gift baskets to help with classroom club funds. Approve North Pole Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $1,000 by hosting a readathon from October 19th through November 16th, 2022 to help with their accelerated reader and their school library. Approve Two Rivers Elementary School's request to fundraise approximately $3,000 by hosting a Halloween carnival to assist with after-school program. Approve personnel action reports for the period September 23rd through October 7th, 2022. Approve the minutes from September 20, 2022 regular meeting, September 19th, 2022 work session, and September 19, 2022 special meeting as submitted. Acknowledge the personnel information report from the period September 23rd through October 7th, 2022. Acknowledge budget transfer reports for the period September 1st through September 30th, 2022. Acknowledge the board's reading file. Acknowledge the board's coming events and meeting announcements.
Thank you so much. Next, we are at public comments on reports and non-agenda items. Public comments on reports and non-agenda items, including public comments, input, ideas, and suggestions are welcome on salaries, benefits, and any other contractual items regarding the ESSA and FEA negotiations. Core value, engage with students, families, staff, and community to support student success. Public comments on reports and non-agenda items are limited to 2 minutes per person for a maximum of 1 hour. People who have signed up in advance through the school board office to testify in person or by Zoom will be called upon first, and if time remains, anyone else who is in person will be invited to testify until the 1 hour time limit has been reached. A person testifying shall state their full name, spelling their last name, and their city of residence for the record. Board members may ask questions for clarification, although there is time at the end of each meeting for school board and chief school administrator comments. Some concerns may not be able to be addressed immediately, as additional information may need to be gathered. We have a list of a few people who signed up prior to the meeting, and we will start with Garrett Armstrong. Garrett Armstrong. Okay, I will come back. Next, we have Philip Wyman. And if you will state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
My name is Philip Wyman, W-Y-M-A-N. Area of residence is North Pole.
Thank you.
Right. My name is Philip Wyman, and I'm an assistant coach at the North Pole High School baseball team. There are 7 or 8 assistant coaches. Many of them are here tonight, and a few absent due to illness and travel. We're speaking on behalf of our head coach, Jim Fisher, who was recently released from his coaching position by the school district. This decision to release Coach Jim concerned us, our family, and our players. Would all the parents here raise their hands? Thank you. Would all the athletes here raise their hands? Thank you. All of us have voluntarily chosen to attend tonight to speak in solidarity on behalf of Coach Jim, to speak of his commitment to students, to the game, and to our community. Coach Jim doesn't just teach baseball skills, he teaches life skills. He uses all situations as an opportunity to teach how baseball relates to life. Like Jim, we take our responsibilities as coaches and our commitment to our parents and players very seriously. We understand the district has guidelines, and we take every effort and precaution to honor them. As assistant coaches, not only do we do this ourselves, but we have a front row seat to observe Coach Jim do so as well. Therefore, who better than those who are at every activity, every practice, every game to speak on behalf of the coaching staff and the program? As coaches who invest time, energy, resource, and skill into the school district's athletic programs, we respectfully ask for the opportunity to be given the opportunity to ourselves speak to any of the concerns the district may have harboring Coach Jim. We look forward to the opportunity to answer all
That-
questions honestly and to the
Coach,
best of our ability.
that was time.
Oh, that was the time?
That was, I know it, 2 minutes is fast.
That is fast.
Yes.
Can I just give my last comment or that I'm done?
Say your last comment. Go
Okay.
ahead.
We just asked the school board to reopen this HR decision regarding Coach Jim, to ask for an investigation that's not superficial, but truly in nature, thorough in nature, and to allow us coaches, parents, and players to speak for the future of our baseball program, coaching staff, our school, and most importantly, our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you so much for coming and testifying. I do just want to make, I know there were a lot of emails
Mhm.
that I have had the privy to read all
Nice.
of them, and I'm in the process of responding to them.
Awesome.
But I do just want to let you guys know that with this being an employee matter, there is a process that needs to be followed.
Right.
And within that process, there are possible appeals that can be made by
Mhm.
that particular employee. And at that point, if that is the way that they would like to bring it, they could bring it to the superintendent and appeal to the superintendent,
Right.
which could then go in front of the board at that time.
Right.
We as a board need to stay as a nonpartisan board until until a possible appeal process happens,
Right.
so that we can stay a neutral party.
Right.
But we really appreciate your testimony and the solidarity with players and families. Activities are an important part of our educational process. Having a brand new high schooler myself,
Yeah.
I have now recognized the importance of sports and the unity that can be found within, for the players and the leaps and bounds that students grow within those. So thank you so much for, number one, being a coach,
Yeah.
and serving our community in that capacity,
Absolutely.
and for coming this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Colin Drumhiller. If you will come up, state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
My name is Colin Drumhiller, Drumhiller, and I reside in North Pole. My name is Colin Drumhiller. I am a senior at North Pole High School. I'm not only speaking for myself, but I'm also speaking for the entire community that Coach Fisher has built. I've been playing baseball for Coach Fisher since my sophomore year. I am now a senior, hoping to finish my high school baseball career with Coach Fisher. He has supported me through my baseball and life challenges. Fisher has set an example of how to be a respectable and compassionate man, not only at baseball, but also throughout my everyday life. Not just to me, but also everyone he encounters. It is important to me that Coach Fisher remains the head coach of the North Pole program because under Coach Fisher's leadership, the program has grown into a very successful team. For example, Coach Fisher has led us to a state tournament and a MAC title multiple times since adopting the program. Coach Fisher has taught me to work hard at whatever I do, even when facing adversity. He has set an example to me and my teammates how to be respectful athletes and men on and off the field. He pushed us to become better individuals in the classroom, on the field, and everyday life. I hope you will reinstate Coach Jim Fisher as he is a great role model to me and my teammates. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Next, we have Ethan Clifford. If you will state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Hello, my name is Ethan Clifford, CLIFFORD. As I enter my senior year of high school, I am heartbroken that Coach Jim Fisher may not be there to help guide not just me, but our team through this year. Since I was 11 years old when he first coached me in a Pony League team, Jim has not acted in just a coaching capacity to me. He has been a mentor and role model. Coach has always been there for me. He held me accountable when I needed to be corrected. He kept me focused on my grades when I was not performing my best. He was also there for me when I had a medical issue that robbed me of my junior year of football and almost took away my junior year of baseball. I was having severe bouts of anxiety and mental distress due to my condition and how it affected my life. Coach was always available to help me when my thoughts were becoming too much to handle alone. I love baseball. Coach loves baseball. But baseball is just one way Jim Fisher has helped me in my life. Jim is a quality man who is more than just a baseball coach. I think North Pole High School will have a challenging time finding a new baseball coach. But even if they find one, there's no way they could replace Jim Fisher as a person. That means more to me than I could express in a speech. I beg the school board to reconsider the potential removal of Coach from leading our team. Not too long ago, I really needed Coach and his guidance. Right now, it is my turn to help Coach be I think he needs me. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Joe K. I apologize. I am going to mispronounce it, but if you'll just come up, go ahead and state your first name.
Joe Kazenz,
Kazenz.
Kazense. I'm a
And-
resident in North Pole.
And you'll have 2 minutes to testify. Thank you so much, Coach.
I have coached on the staff since 2017 and the assistant head coach since 2018. I am here to ensure that the voices heard in regarding the coach situation with the North Pole coaching decision by the district. When I inquired about the dismissal of Coach Fisher, I was told by HR it could not comment on the matter, but assured me that a very extensive investigation was completed. This was stated again this weekend by a member of this board on social media. I can provide screenshots if needed. I do not believe that this investigation was very extensive since myself and none of the other coaches on the staff were contacted by anyone in the district. These coaching positions are not easy at the high school level. Please keep in mind, we are all volunteers, trained volunteers, but still volunteers. Coach Fisher's program has been built from the start on the following principles. First, be a good student. Second, be a good person. Thirdly, be a player. Doesn't matter what kind of player, as long as they're a player. While building this program, we have increased the team GPA while staying competitive and respectful to the game and all involved with it. No one has ever been removed from our program based on skill level alone. Hence the reason we had 30+ students on our roster this year, doubling the next closest roster in the district. This was done with consistent message and being role models from the entire coaching staff along with Coach Fisher. This type of support and learning will help all of the student athletes in the program become young adults, not afraid to move into the adult world. I just have one
Thank you.
last quick
Go ahead, Coach.
thank you. We are
Bending
asking
the
that you
rules today.
please look into this investigation yourself, that it wasn't just one or two families talked to. Since none of the coaching staff was involved with this, we ask that our voices are heard on this matter also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Coach. Next, we have Natalie PECIC. If you'll come up, state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Okay. Hi, Natalie Pesic, PECIC, Fort Wainwright. I'm coming to talk about, sorry, our system of education right now. It's not satisfying. There's no value in it. Education is down.
Can you get a little closer to the mic so we can hear you?
The satisfaction in education, there's nothing, where is it? The value, education, it's all down. Sorry, I might get emotional. Just to think what we all go through as educators within our system, and to think the value, yeah, we value substitutes and whatnot, but just to think at the rate of pay that they were given, especially last year, that big bonus. We were there for a whole month, since the very beginning of the year. Why weren't we getting a big bonus, a grand every month for coming in, showing up? just the starting pay, 18, 20. Ours is 19. Wow. Value. Yeah, we value educators. We value our subs. No biggie. Absolutely. But there's aggression. There's, stuff that happens within our education system. There's, I don't know how to say, but my time's running out. We could go elsewhere and work in retail, food services. There's tips, discounts, paid education in some spots. And that pay starts at 18, 22, some places 25 at others. And it's like, wow, where's the value? Where's the satisfaction? All that aggression that happens in education towards others, towards ourselves, towards, not even, I don't know. There's so much more. Where's my time? Okay, 8. Hitting, kicking, pinching, hitting to the face, grabbing, rushing, pushing, and biting. Wow, education, satisfying and value in it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for your testimony this evening. Next, we have Taryn Porter. Online is Taryn online. Taryn Porter, can you hear us? Taryn? All right, we will move on and come back to Taryn. Next, we have Wendy Dominique. If you will state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to speak. And I did see that you had 2 topics that you would like to speak with. If you would like to talk of this one first and the North Star College when that topic comes up.
You guys, is it my turn? This is Taryn Porter.
This Taryn.
Oh, would you mind waiting, Miss Dominique? All right, Taryn, if you will state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Thank you. My name is Taryn Porter. I live on Chigmit Drive in Fairbanks, Alaska, and our kids go to Barnett Magnet School. Okay. I am super honored to be able to give huge support for the Barnett Magnet School model. And I appreciate you guys' flexibility today. I'm teaching a different class, but the Barnett Magnet model is the heart and soul of our entire K-8 experience. And it is so vital for the kids that go there. We have hundreds of students who succeed at a wonderful level at Barnett that I believe is really unique to our school. And we have programs that allow kids to advance in their studies if they are higher level or need a further challenge. We have programs that allow kids to work at their own pace if they need to go a little bit slower than the average student. Having the benefit of K through 8 in the same building, in the same school as one giant community has been invaluable. I had a very toxic middle school experience, and we do not experience that at Barnett to the same degree at all. So it's wonderful to have our older kids be able to mentor our younger kids, to have the older kids still be in, for lack of a better word, the sheltered environment of Barnett Magnet. And also there is this strong sense of community that I value so much. We have service, that we're pushing with our kiddos when they're mentoring younger kids. We have a value of community. We have a value of unity. And I just am begging the school board and the school district to keep Barnett as a magnet school. And I know that there are major changes happening in the district, but I beg of you, please do not mess with the Barnett Magnet model, please. And please let our kids continue to succeed. And, we have tons of siblings that would be incoming kinder, or they're currently babies, that their dreams are to come to Barnett and be able to graduate through 8th grade at Barnett Magnet. So that is huge. And I know it may not be an action step today, but I feel like it was incredibly important to have this opportunity to share support on Barnett Magnet, because I know there are, little whisperings here and there of changing things or taking over our building or taking away the middle school out of it. And this program really is phenomenal.
Thank you so much. That is time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Have a good night. I love pleasant voices. Next, we have Wendy Dominique.
Okay, I'm speaking on both of you guys, so that's 4 minutes. No, I'm joking.
I'll put you back on the list.
Okay. I just want, Wendy Dominique, Dominique. I want to speak about the retiring board members. I know there's been a lot said about Mr. Matthew Sampson, but he first was under me and when I was president. And I want to say, Matthew, you didn't give me a hard time like you gave the rest of them, and I thank you for that. But I want you to have a great time when you retire. I know you're going to be in this town. I know I'll see you around. And you have a great time, and you be sure to take care of yourself, okay? And Miss Jennifer, I have to leave you for last, and I can't look at you. We have become such great friends. I feel like I'm a part of her family. I love each and every one of her kids. I've always been so jealous of her because she has 7 kids and I had 3, but every time I come over to her house, I'm so welcomed. I don't remember all their names, but they appreciate me and I appreciate them. And now we'll get to have more time together, doing things together, Jennifer, with the kids and going places, and we'll still come to meetings and surprise them, okay? But I really appreciate everything you've done for this board. I truly appreciate your connectivity, your leadership, your caring, and you have brought this board a long way, a lot further than what I did. And I thank you for your service ever so much. Thank you. I got flowers here for both.
Thank you, Miss Dominique.
Always classy and always respectful. Thank you. My wife thanks you.
Thank you so much, Miss Dominique. Such a lovely surprise. That concludes all of those who were signed up to testify. Are there any further people in the audience that would like to give testimony this evening? Come on up, and if you will state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Hello, my name, excuse me. Hello, my name is Garrett Armstrong. I'm a resident of Slater Drive here in Fairbanks, and I'm here speaking about the ongoing negotiations between the Fairbanks and North Suburban School District's bargaining team and FEA and ESSA. Good evening, board members. I'm a teacher employed for the last 3 years at North Pole Elementary School and a member of the Fairbanks Educators Association. I was born in Fairbanks, educated here, and proud to teach in the same region. I'm here tonight to express my concerns about the ongoing contract negotiations between FEA and ESSA and the school district's bargaining teams. According to the latest from FEA, there are still 21 unresolved articles to be settled in the contract. What is being requested at the moment is a modest 6% raise in salary and retention of current health benefits for the next year. My greater concern, though, is more than that, is how it affects fellow teachers, is how our students are affected by the recent budget cuts and closures, as well as the proposed upcoming ones. Currently at my school, all classes of 18 to 30, from 28 to 31 students. Myself and my colleagues are all devoted to our classes, but are also heavily strained by the size of them, which have risen from the average size of 24 to now 30 or more at the elementary level. We have empty classrooms available, but no teachers. In my 3 years at NPE, I've seen the staff shrink through positions being closed after a long-serving teacher retires, leaving the students that once distributing 3 teachers to 2. It is extremely difficult to give these students, particularly those with additional accommodations needed, the attention and time to learn the essential skills of reading, writing, math, and social studies. Not to mention the extra classroom activities that enrich our students' minds and prepare them for adulthood and becoming responsible members of society. I understand that my proposal to the problem is straightforward but difficult under next year's economic forecasts. Offer the 6% raise or increase it, reopen closed positions to relieve stress on the teachers, and offer competitive benefits to attract the best candidates to our district. I have no easy answer on where the funding could come from. I teach PE, not economics, unfortunately, but can suggest reaching out for an increase in the base student allotment from the state of Alaska or coordinating with the representatives in DC for more federal funding. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony this evening. Are there any others that would like to testify this evening?
I'll go last.
All right, come on up. If you'll state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Thank you. Daniel Angelo, Angelo. I live in Fairbanks. I am the head baseball umpire basically north of Denali in the state of Alaska. I have the privilege, my association has the privilege of officiating youth baseball, high school baseball, and American Legion baseball. American Legion is made up of high school students ages 14 to 19. I'm also a retired sergeant first class, and in my experience, I've seen a lot of toxic leadership in my life, in my Army career. There are toxic baseball coaches in the state of Alaska, and I just want to say that Jim Fisher is not one of them. He is the complete opposite of what toxic could be. He has built a great program. I have umpires throughout the state that want to come up and work his games because of the program he has built and how easy it is to deal with him and his coaching staff. There are teams that refuse to come up because they are toxic and they don't match up well, not only competitively, but personally on the baseball field. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Any further testimony this evening before we conclude testimony? Seeing none, public testimony is now concluded for this evening. Thank you to all of those who came and testified. Next up on our agenda, there is no Borough Assembly report for this evening, but next is the President's report. Goals and objective is to ensure students, staff, families, and community are informed, connected, and engaged with the district. I will give and provide the President's report for the evening. I wanted to start off by letting the community know we are already in talks with Ray and Associates for the superintendent search for this coming year. We are meeting to kind of schedule that next couple of steps. And I am not formally putting anything together because I believe that that is the job of this next board with the new board members coming on. I think that that is very vital to ensuring that they're able to do their job, but that is already in place. And so the next step for that is having about an hour-and-a-half meeting with Ray and Associates to create the timeline, create kind of the outline of what it is that the board is looking for in the next superintendent, and the qualifications, and that will be the next step, and that will be the first thing scheduled. Next, I do want to say last weekend I was able to go down and chaperone for the Lathrop Malamutes on the state football tournament. It is incredible, and I've heard lots of testimony about coaches, and I have to say, Coach Belash is an outstanding man and an outstanding support for our students. I am grateful for him and all of the other coaches who are guiding our youth in our community, devoting their time, energy, and their own abilities and talents to our youth to help them to succeed in their lives. And I'm grateful for that. It was a hard-fought game, and it was very cold. And I do have to say, I'm also grateful that my daughter let me go and chaperone. There's nothing like being in a car with 7 cheerleaders for 12 hours. But I'm excited to move into having more of that opportunity and time. And I have a little bit of some ending thoughts here that I want to say as I'm getting off of the board. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm a weeper. My kids make fun of me and mock me all the time. But it's because I'm truly passionate for what I do. I had to type it out so I wouldn't lose my thoughts. Growing up a military child, community wasn't a long-term word. It was a sense of time-limited friendships, school connections, and very small familiarity within a specific location. I always looked forward to the next adventure, reinventing myself and gaining new experiences in the next place. That sense of constant movement followed me into my early adulthood. But one experience changed it all. In college, I got an opportunity for a great summer adventure, the time of my life to drive tour buses in Fairbanks, Alaska. One summer. Within my first weekend here, though, I began to understand the true meaning of community, the kind of meaning that lasts forever. In my first 24 hours in Fairbanks, I was invited into somebody's home, fed, cared for, looked after, and even found housing within the first 24 hours. Essentially, overnight, I knew I needed to stay here in the Golden Heart City. Since deciding to stay put, I have felt the strong sense of community many times, getting help when my car broke down on the side of the road, finding friends that have become family, serving in many capacities, getting married, and having my children. I want to thank this community for the trust and faith you have had in my abilities when you voted me onto the school board. In that pre-pandemic world, we had no idea what was in store for me, the district, or our community over the next 3 years. In the beginning, we focused solely on student success with curriculum, school start times, and new transportation contracts. As an elected representative, I immediately felt the weight of those decisions and my new responsibilities as a board member. Though hindsight, looking back, those once heavy decisions feel incredibly light today. I poured over many pages of data, listened to everyone who would speak with me, and asked countless questions. Poor Mr. DeGraw was always peppered with my questions about budget and how everything would work out, and so I appreciate that. Since attending my first meeting in 2019, I've taken a consistent approach by studying, questioning, and listening as each individual topic has come before the board for consideration. At times, the topics were heated, emotionally charged, and to be honest, quite scary as I sat at this diocese. Whether or not my voice was among the loudest during meetings, my heart and mind worked tirelessly to represent this community with informed decision-making and integrity. Over and over, I learned the importance of discussion, debate, the ability to disagree civilly, and the importance of evaluating topics without prejudice. The judge who presided over my swearing in spoke to me directly about this challenge and this calling on the same day. He stated, "You must learn to disagree without being disagreeable." I have never forgotten his words. They have impacted my service to the board and this community in all aspects of my life. They caused me to study the difference between the words disagree and disagreeable. When you disagree, you are called to enter a discussion with ears and minds open to hear and to understand others' perspectives. You allow yourself to see another's experiences. In the end, you can still move forward together, unified. In contrast, if you go into a discussion to be disagreeable, your only goal is to be heard and not to hear. In taking a stand with no room for new perspective, you risk seeming flippant, angry, disrespectful, and unrelenting, all while keeping your mind and ears closed to the possibility of what may be best for all of the people you once aimed to serve. My hope is that this board can disagree without being disagreeable, that they can listen for understanding, that they can continue to focus on student success, and that they, the students, will be the center of all conversation. Centering our students is the true goal, not personal ambition. This past year has been the greatest time of personal learning and growth in my life, and I've had a lot of opportunity for those things. Being a leader, especially the board president, challenged me to look within, learning my strengths and weaknesses, and owning those. I did this in the most uncomfortable way imaginable, very publicly. Everything that was done, said, voted on, discussed, and moved forward was public record. My strengths and my learnings were on display for all to see. I've been the center of discussion. I've had hate centered on me. I've been called incompetent, trash, and borne physical threats of death and harm towards myself and even my family, including my children. I want you to let that sink in. Bearing all of this is truly the highest and hardest personal hurdle that I overcame this year. To serve with openness and integrity in the face of adversity. I feel at the end of it, I am a much stronger and more certain of my own worth. I have learned exactly what my strengths and weaknesses are and learned to adjust accordingly. At the beginning of my term, my incredible husband shared Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt, which quickly became my personal mantra. President Roosevelt states, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." This is exactly what I'm most proud of, that I dared greatly and persisted beyond the failures, that I put forth the efforts, that I put forth through sweat and tears. It has been for a worthy cause, the education of our children and our future. As I look back at the accomplishments of the past year, I am proud of this board. We accomplished some incredible things. Many times, we faced decisions that polarized our community. School closures, COVID mitigation plans, busing, or the lack thereof, budgets, our music program, the search for a superintendent, and middle school restructuring. Any one of those on its own is a heavy lift. But we are a more stable district for facing and emerging from those decisions. We were proactive this year rather than reactive. We can see this as other districts around the state are following our lead. As they search for answers in crisis mode, they can look to us as a district that was able to make decisions for success ahead of the crisis. These other districts are mirroring what we did last year in hopes that they have the same positive outcomes we now enjoy. We still have a way to go, but it is not outside the grasp of the district and board to get there. I am grateful for the administration, the educators, the families and the students of this district. We are a community. We come together for the greater good. We help and uplift each other. That is our charge. I ask and plead that we continue to be the community I fell in love with all those years ago. That we continue to be the Golden Heart of Alaska. I want to end by thanking my family. Who deserve all the credit and accolades in the world for supporting me and my service on this board. My children gave up time with their mother as I sat in meetings evening after evening, at times until 1:30 in the morning. They witnessed their mother put the district's needs in front of their own at times. I appreciate their patience, their understanding, and most importantly, their love of me as their mother. I am so looking forward to spending more time with them and being a chaperone more often. Even if you shake your head no. My mother has been an incredible support to my family and myself. She moved here 2 years ago to be with us and has offered her kind support that I never knew that I needed nor existed in this world. I am grateful for her love of me, my husband, and our children. I am grateful for the bond that has grown between her being my children's Miss Oma. My husband, Michael Luke, has been and continues to be the best decision I have ever made in my life. He is the quiet strength I return home to after each meeting and after every day. The one who has maintained our home whenever I'm away, comforted me as I grappled with the weight and responsibilities of this position. Michael has helped me create a home filled with love and has held the world at bay whenever I felt the walls caving in. I am grateful that I get to spend eternity with him by my side, surrounded by our children, the very people we endeavor here to serve. Thank you. I want to thank my family for coming and supporting me this evening as well. Whew. Next, we have our Chief School Administrator report. Our goal and objective: ensure students, staff, families, and the community are informed, connected, and engaged with the district. Chief School Administrator Mrs. Moline will provide her report.
Thank you, President Luke. I'll begin my report with a quick update on enrollment. We're about halfway through our 20-day count, which again is that number that we're funded on through the state. Our enrollment is remaining strong, right about 650 students up from our projections from last year.
Can you speak a little bit more into the microphone? It seems a little quiet.
Yeah, okay, how's that? Okay, sorry. Do you want me to start over? No?
We're good. Continue.
Okay. Second, I just want to give a really quick update on transportation. We've been working hard over the last several months with all the different partners to get a contract in place that we can begin using vans as a part of our transportation plan. It looks like we're in the final stages. Our Durham partners will be here on November 1st at the board meeting to answer questions about the changes in the contract and how we can move forward with a sustainable partnership. I would also like to congratulate the Lathrop Malamutes on their championship. Last year was historical in that it was the first year that they had ever won the state championship, and now they've done it 2 consecutive years. I see a pattern developing that I hope that will continue. And finally, I want to address the strategic goal and district objective, and that is that of student success. Today, I had the opportunity to vote on the entries for the Kids Voting poster contest. Kids Voting is a program created to build lifelong voting habits for our children. There's a poster contest, scholarship opportunities for students, and grant funds available for teachers to increase civic literacy in their classroom. A representative government works when the citizenry engages in the process. Building and understanding the rights and responsibilities of voting is a part of building an active citizen. And that is true student success. So congratulations to those volunteers who have helped make Kids Voting a success in our district historically and moving forward. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Moline. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, we are moving on. Our first action item, new business, approval of the expansion of North Star College. Core value, center everything we do on the student and student success. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the expansion of North Star College by increasing minimum enrollment to 125 students and transitioning the status from a district program to a district school.
Second. It's been, we have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. Before we move over to administration, we're going to move to public testimony. I do currently have 3 people who have signed up. First, we have Bobby Burgess. Oh, if you will state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Hi, thank you. My name is Robert Burgess, B-U-R-G-E-S-S, go by Bobby sometimes. I live on the west side of Farmers Loop. With regard to the North Star College expansion, I would like to urge the board to postpone the vote until additional research can be done to determine the effect of the expansion on other district schools and to give parents and students time to digest the resulting information and share their opinions. As a parent of district students, I have been paying fairly close attention to the board and district recently, and the first I heard about this expansion was at the last board meeting 2 weeks ago. At that meeting, 2 board members noted that they wanted to see additional research on impacts to schools and students and additional details on projected budget calculations, and I was disappointed to see their suggestions all but dismissed by district administration and other board members. The documents that were attached to this meeting's agenda only yesterday do not provide sufficient detail, in my opinion, and families and staff have not been given adequate time to weigh in. Questions and concerns that I've heard from the community include how this will affect staffing and advanced placement classes in high schools, whether credits earned by students will be transferable, what the cost to the district will be if enrollment is not as high as anticipated, how attendance at the NSC will impact students' abilities to participate in extracurricular activities, and more. This board has a mandate for responsible stewardship, and this is not what responsible stewardship looks like. The district and board have received a lot of criticism over the past few years with respect to communication and engagement. Some of that criticism has been justified. Pushing the NSC expansion through without providing details or giving parents adequate time and opportunity to weigh in is yet another example of the district's failure to keep up the communication and engagement part of its strategic plan and will further erode trust. I respectfully ask the board to slow down and take a more deliberate and transparent approach to the NSC expansion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony this evening. Next, we have Brandy Hardy. If you'll come up, state your name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Hi, I'm Brandy Hardy, H-A-R-T-Y, and I'm a resident of Fairbanks. Allow me to start by saying I am very supportive of the North Star College program and very impressed with what they have accomplished in their 3 years of existence. But I, like Mr. Doran has said, would like a better understanding of the full impact of this expansion. Too often, as a teacher, I have seen board decisions create huge ripple effects in our schools and classrooms in ways that the board didn't fully understand until after implementation. These impacts can be mitigated if planned for and due diligence is taken. I humbly request that the board make sure that they have a fully fleshed out plan and know the full implications of that decision on our high schools before voting on establishing a new school. I'm grateful for the administration for taking the time to answer my questions I sent over the weekend on this matter, but answering those questions in a direct email to me, myself, does not help the greater public better understand this motion, nor provide the opportunity for the public to provide feedback or comments on this plan. Many candidates ran their campaign for this board on the platform of transparency and trust. I'm not saying that the expansion of the North Star Middle College is not an excellent idea. I am saying I would like to see a plan inclusive of more comprehensive details and a fully fleshed out thing to release to the public in a timely manner so that we can solicit comments and feedback before going forward before the board for a vote.
Thank you so much for your testimony this evening. Next, we have Wendy Dominique. If you will come forward, state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Wendy Dominique, D-O-M-I-N-I-Q-U-E. And I just want to say that I was on the board when we first established the North Star College. No, I was not for the funding aspects of it in the beginning. It has come to fruition now where the funding has come together, especially with the expansion. If you've gone out and done research across the nation, look and see how many colleges are working with their high schools to develop a program of this nature. We have a lot of students, we all know, who just went through COVID, and it was a harsh time. We have kids in our high schools right now that have missed 2 years, and they're falling back from math. I have a grandson that has suffered from that. He's a senior this year. I just want to say that they have flushed out a lot of information. There's more information to come, but I think this is a great deal for our kids. We live in Alaska. This is going to make our kids more competitive, more wanting to go to college. Those that didn't have a chance a few years ago to be a part of this will now have an opportunity to be a part of something that's great for this area. We have Hutchinson Career Center. We have Barnett School. We have to keep intact with what's going on in our nation. But I think this is a great idea. I am so delighted to hear that we're doing this expansion, and Mr. DeGraw has come through with the money for us. But thank you ever so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for your testimony this evening, Ms. Dominique. That is all who have signed up. Is there anyone who would like to testify? If you'll come up, state your first name, spell your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Nikki Eisman, Eiseman, Fairbanks. Okay. I just dictated this as I was driving in, so we'll see what it says. Good evening. I'd like to speak not in opposition to the North Star College expansion, but in opposition to making the final vote this evening. As many of you here know, I'm generally well informed about matters that come before the board. This agenda item caught me completely unawares and by extension should tell you that it will be news to much of the community. We're just coming off an election in which transparency and trust between the school board and the community was a significant issue. I know that I have several questions that haven't been answered. Has there been robust discussion with current high school staff and students about how this will affect their programs? Will the classes indeed be taught by highly qualified university instructors or first-year teaching assistants? I know that many other communities have very successful early college programs, and I know that ours will be as well. But I'm suggesting that there is no need to rush the expansion through tonight. To pass it without adequate community conversation would suggest that you are not being transparent and honest. While it may be within the letter of the law to pass it tonight, it's not within the community's best interest. We're not talking about any additional facilities that need to be constructed, so I don't know where the harm will come from delaying. This board spent more time discussing LAD's request to maintain its K-8 program than we're spending on this potential change. You have 2 newly elected school board members who will be sworn in on the 31st. I just heard President Luke say that the superintendent's search should be made under the new board. Since this is a program that will potentially grow and flourish under this new board, they're deserving of a robust conversation about its pros and cons, just as the community is deserving of a full and robust conversation about expansion of this program. And I want to thank you for your bold final comments as president. Thank you so much. And I will say that many of us sitting in this chair are sometimes guilty of forgetting that there's a human being on the other side there. We are bringing our full humanity, but not always seeing yours. So thank you.
Thank you.
Get those hankies. Cry. It's good.
I'll sleep really well on October 31st. Any other testimony? Seeing none, testimony is now closed. I'd like to turn over to administration.
Thank you, President Luke. And I would like to acknowledge our partners that are here in the room from UAF. Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, Owen Guthrie, and Laura Connor, a very integral part of our North Star College current program. And the board has received extensive information that's been gathered, and we're happy to answer any further questions at this time.
Questions from the board? Mr. Doran, I'm going to call on you because I can see you moving, that you're going to raise your hand. So I'll give you the floor.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I was just reaching for that raising the hand button. So where to start? I had thought there would be a presentation based on some information that was just posted today. I guess I'll start on the budget page. It doesn't have otherwise a title. It's just North Star enrollment assumptions. So I want to make sure that everyone's on the same one. So to the administration, a question, I have a couple of questions, and I know you want to put others in the queue and bring me back. But just a couple of questions to start us off on that page. The assumptions at the top regarding revenue is based on 175 students, but the expenditures on the bottom are based on 135 students. So could the administration clarify that discrepancy and provide the figure of what actually is on the revenue side and what is the full figure that would be on the expenditure side for the full 175 students?
Mr. DeGraw, would you like to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can address that. So yes, Mr. Dorn is correct. The total revenue, the larger font numbers that are underlined, those numbers are total new revenues and expenditures based on the expansion of North Star College. He is correct. Those numbers, the bottom number, 1,289,000, does not include the existing expenditures dedicated to the current 40 students that are enrolled. So right now, the most recent data that we have, the costs for those students last fiscal year were about between $350,000 and $360,000. So if you add the existing expenditures for the current 40 students, that would come to about $1,650,000, roughly. That's an estimate. And then that would compare to the $1,316,000 in total new revenue to the program. And it's important to note that the total new revenue is a sum of both additional foundation revenue based on the creation of a new school within our funding model, and then another $350,000. That's about $960,000, and then an additional $350,000 is our funds identified as revenue to the program through reallocation of a relatively small level of staff members in our existing high schools. So total revenue, $1,316,000 is an estimate based on those enrollment estimates at the top, and it's impossible to know right now exactly where all of the students will come from. It's impossible to know that. So we're basing the numbers off of estimates based on the makeup of the current 40 students in the program, and total expenditures to the program would be roughly $1,650,000. It's important to note that those are just expenditures on the school district side. Of course, there are significant expenditures and resources being allocated and dedicated by UAF to the program as well.
Can I follow up?
Go ahead, Mr. Doran.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. DeGraw and the administration. So let me ask then, the revenue side, is if I understand the way that's been presented, with 175 students, 20 of those may be additional students that would decide to join our district in order to participate in this and would then become district students. But the 165 would be existing students in our district. Am I correct?
Correct. 20 additional students are assumed in those enrollment estimates,
Okay.
and then it would be 155 from.
So 165 students, we would be getting funding for them anyway. From what I understand in my conversation with you the other day, and I really appreciate your time, the school size factor is different. The smaller the school, the higher factor is used in figuring the per student-based student allocation. If we used the lowest amount factor, I believe you showed me it was 0.84, those 165 students would be generating at about $5,000 a piece. So that money is already there. It's not any additional revenue factor. If my loose numbers came out to be about, if we want an increase of about 250,000 that we might get with, which I assume is part of the small school piece. Am I far off base?
So Mr. Joint, you're correct in the methodology that you're describing and in reference to our one-on-one meeting that we had. However, the $962,000 that I'm putting forth and that I'm standing by is the number that the funding model generates with a new school created. With North Star Middle College established in our funding model, the state foundation funding formula generates $962,000 additional dollars to the school district based on the assumptions at the top of the report.
Okay, so quick follow-up and then I'll pass it on, President Luke. Based on what you're saying there, am I correct that this funding model with 175 students would generate this amount of money, but at the same time, 165, those students will be removed from the funding formula for the other high schools, the rest of the district, because they can't be counted twice.
Correct. The difference is, and it's the 155 students in the baseline that I'm creating to generate the comparison. Those 155 students are in their respective schools. For example, 15 students. I'm going from the report in the packet right now. 15 students from Ben Eielson High. In the base number, in the base report, those 15 students are Ben Eielson. In the comparison of what the revenue would be generated from a North Star Middle College creation, 15 of those students are moved to the new North Star Middle College. So you're correct, Mr. Doran. Those 15 students are already generating a certain amount of revenue to the school district, but as you indicated, it's at a much lower multiplier. That's the nuts and bolts of how the additional revenues are generated, is moving them to a new school that is smaller in nature. The creation of a new school creates a significant amount of a significant multiplier based on fixed costs needed to stand up a new school within a school district.
Thank you. That's my question.
All right, we have.
If you could just put me back in the queue.
Before we go any further, I need to apologize. We had somebody signed up for testimony that was on a different sheet. And I'm going to allow this one person because they were the first person to sign up, but they were on a different sheet. So we have Aaron Genoso. If you'll just state your first name, spell out your last name, give us your area of residence, and you will have 2 minutes to testify.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Aaron Genoso, Janoso, and I live in Fairbanks. And I am here to speak tonight about the expansion of North Star College. And it's a proposal that I think many others heard about for the first time during the last school board meeting just 2 weeks ago. And I want to start by saying that I don't have a thing against the North Star College program. I recognize its importance to the learning opportunities offered by our school district. And perhaps this expansion could be a great thing for the students of this district. That would be a wonderful thing if it could work out that way. But here's the rub. It's a new program, a new expansion that has a 1.36 million, or maybe I even heard a higher number just now from Mr. DeGraw, but a $1.36 million price tag attached to it. During a time of teacher shortages, it will pull staff from existing high schools. I understand that it's assumed and hoped that this program will generate revenue over and above what it costs. It'd be great if it could work out that way, but what if it doesn't? We just heard that these revenue numbers are not certain. They are assumptions still. So while I've been sitting in the testimony chair, pleading with this board to find a way to preserve our elementary band and orchestra programs, I've been reminded more than once by different members of the board that this district is facing a multi-million-dollar budget deficit. If you're going to spend money in a deficit situation, you've got to cut something else, I've been reminded. So I was asked, if you want to keep elementary band and orchestra, please tell us what you would have us cut. I mean, what is there left to cut? So now I'm going to sit here and ask this board the same question. This is a new program that you are considering, a new expansion, something that costs a lot of money that we've gotten along without up till this point. And you are being asked to take it on at a time of dramatic budget deficits, at a time that you are at an impasse with teachers over their contract negotiations because they need to recognize the district's current budget reality. So please, I would ask you to make financially responsible choice and take the time to investigate all the unthought of questions that might exist.
All right.
So that we don't end up in a bad situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Genoso. That is time.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Ms. Matheson.
Thank you. So we're discussing whether or not pulling a child from one school and putting them in another, that whole multiplier. But my understanding was that this school will, with the expansion, will be open for students all over Alaska, not just the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. So I just want clarification on that. Is that correct?
Mr. Meinert.
So the students that would attend North Star College would be enrolled with the Fairbanks North Starborough School District. I think it was mentioned that this could be an attraction to students currently outside of our district and competing outside area homeschool programs or neighboring districts.
Any further questions? No. Mr. Sampson, did you have your hand raised earlier?
I don't have any questions relating to the superintendent's presentation on the matter.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Smith?
Thank you. I'll be voting in support of the expansion of North Star College. I am astonished that people feel this has not been a transparent process. I've been on this board for 2 years. We have discussed North Star College repeatedly. We've discussed the expansion of North Star College. We've put the discussion and the vote for the expansion of North Star College aside due to COVID, or due to other emerging issues over and over in the last 2 years. So people who want to say that this just popped up out of nowhere and has never been on our radar are misinformed and possibly have just not been following the board as closely as they seem to believe they do. And the amount of information that was presented at our multi-hour presentation on North Star College just a few days ago is astounding. And the questions that were left from that have all been answered. I don't understand why we are spending time and time again repeatedly trying to prove that this program is stealing money from music or from some other program when it has been clearly stated that the program is virtually cost neutral and offers wonderful opportunities to our students. It is taking nothing from anyone. I'd like to ask a question through the chair to Mr. DeGraw.
Go ahead.
Mr. DeGraw, are you 100% certain that opening this school in this model is a financial decision that benefits students without harming our financial stability as a district?
Ms. Smith, assuming that the new school is successfully created within our funding model, I'm confident that new revenues compared to new expenditures would be at minimum cost neutral, if not generate a small surplus to the school district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sampson?
There's quite a few questions, and I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm not sure if we're still on the administrative questions for the administration, but I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it. I do support this program. It's a program that didn't come out of the blue. It's a program that's active right now. It's a highly successful program. It's of much benefit to our students. It actually generates increased funding. The ability to see an increase in foundation funding via a new school without actually building a new school is simply amazing. We've got the same students that end result is a higher multiplier. It's called it's simple math. It's common sense. The reason why we would do it today as opposed to tomorrow is because, in my opinion, I don't see it passing tomorrow. Down the road, I don't see this passing. And I'm not going to get into the details as to why it is I feel that way, but I can tell you that you're going to see you would see a lot of resistance from, how would you say, special interests, as opposed to folks that are keeping the kids to heart. This is a good thing for the students. This is a good thing for the UAF. They are substantially invested in this program. Our return on investment, it's worthy. It's worth doing. And I will be a wholehearted yes, a vote on the North Star College. Thank you.
Thank you. I have myself, Mr. Doran, and Mrs. Smith in the queue. I want to state publicly, and Mrs. Sanderson, I am 100% behind this. And the reason being is when it was very first brought before the board, it was very open 3 years ago stating our goal is to expand. Our goal is to create its own school, its own entity, so that we can ensure that we can give different opportunities to as many students as possible. Our students are going through our district, graduating, some moving away through military or school or other opportunities, and they are competing with students all over the world. Allowing opportunities such as this one to give them a leg up, or even to just stay in step with students across the lower 48 is immeasurable. We need to allow these opportunities to exist for our students. When we talked about the cost of this program, it was over $2,000 less per student than Hutchinson High School. And yet we never consider cutting anything from Hutch, because Hutch is such a vital part of our district. It serves such an incredible opportunity and community that we need here. This is the next step to allow our students to get ahead, to have an opportunity to have an associate's degree by the time they graduate from high school. We have the University of Alaska Fairbanks here, who is stating that our partnership with them is not just important, but vital. That they're going to do everything they possibly can to ensure the success, not just of our students individually, but to the district and this program and this school. We are not doing this out of the blue. We are not doing this behind closed doors. It has been a part of discussion for 3 years. We are not doing it by ourselves. And I think that is the most incredible part of this entire program, is we are not doing this by ourselves. We have the weight, the expertise, and the enthusiasm of our university system here, who wants to see this succeed, who wants to move it to the next level, and who wants to ensure the success of each of our students. How incredible is that, that we are lucky enough to have a university right here in our city? And how sad would it be if we do not utilize them to the fullest of our ability? Shame on us if we don't do that. I know change is hard. Sometimes change is scary. But the pros outweigh the cons every way you slice it with this decision. When we have partnerships such as this one with our district and the university system, 100% graduation rate. What is our graduation rate for the entirety of the state? It's not 100%. How incredible is it that we can offer that to 175 of our students? Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. However, will it be impactful to every student who attends that school? Absolutely. Undoubtedly, yes. This is something that I am proud to be a part of, that one of the very first things that I did on this board was to vote to start this school. That was a proud moment of mine, to give our students these options. And now it's one of the last votes, or one of the last things I get to do while on this board, while serving our community, is ensuring that this opportunity continues and expands to ensure that we have more students who are receiving a better education that has that other opportunity. We have spent 3 years since I've been on this board discussing cuts, discussing budgets. I have sat countless evenings until 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning reading those budget books, poring over those budget books, marking things, poor Mr. DeGraw, answering emails, trying to ensure that I fully understand the impact of these things. He does not take these things lightly. And for him to state that this is the best thing for our students in our district, quite frankly, I believe him. When our university comes here and states this is the best thing for our district and our students, quite frankly, I believe them. Not just because of what they said, but because of the information that was presented to us. Mr. Doran.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions. I will respectfully ask that you put me back in the queue for my comments later. So a couple more questions that I have. So one of the questions that came up at the work session 2 weeks ago were about tuition and discounts. And I wanted some clarification on a couple of things. One, on the packet tonight, that was actually added to the board agenda yesterday on UAF personnel and faculty time for cohort and required classes. A clarification there, those cohort classes are full college classes. We pay tuition for those credits. Is that correct?
Mr. Minor?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So they're getting fully paid for those. The clarification on the note that was sent this afternoon, that we get a discount on the Alaska Advantage courses if students take those. My understanding, they're strictly online courses available for dual credit to high school students. They're offered to almost every district in the state for $165, which, according to the UAF website, is a lower rate than a university UAS student would actually be paying for those courses. Do we get a discount beyond that 165, or is the 165 rate that virtually all the districts in the state can access?
Yeah, those are our 165 is the cost to us.
Okay, so we get no discount on that.
Mr. Doran,
Okay.
I will give you one more question before we move on. I still have a bunch of people in the queue.
Okay, thank you. My other clarification, going back to the district budget page, the teacher reallocation, that would actually represent, we would be cutting that from the secondary program side and moving it to this side of the budget. Is that correct? That we can anticipate that to show in the recommended budget that will come to us in the spring.
Mr. DeGraw?
Yes, FTEs within the budget would follow these students. Correct.
Thank you. Okay, and please put me back in the queue.
I have Mrs. Sanderson, Mrs. Smith, and Colonel Surrey.
Thank you, President Luke. I just had a question to Mr. DeGraw, maybe Ms. Moline. This is a pathway foundation that we've built over a period of 3 years to give our students an additional pathway into the education system of higher. Is this correct?
That's correct.
And the students that have enrolled, to my knowledge, there's only been like 2 slots that students withdrew rather quickly when they figured out that this wasn't for them, and we had other students quickly apply and continue with this higher education. Is that correct?
Yes. Was it 2 that were? Yeah, it was 2, and as soon as those students discovered it wasn't the pathway for them, we were able to fill the slots. We've been able to have full slots in our program with others waiting.
And finally, our students are showing leadership and assuming higher leadership roles and capacities on this pathway. Is that correct?
I would say yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Mrs. Smith, and then Colonel Surrey.
Thank you. I just wanted to address another issue that has been addressed multiple times over and over that people seem unclear about, which is the timeline. I think it is a disservice to imply that we just want to get this vote through before the new board comes, because that is not the reason for this timeline. It was explained by the administration multiple times in writing, as well as presented in this room and presented during our workshop, that the reason for the timeline is that there has to be time to apply to the state to establish the school before the spring lottery and before we need to change our employment contracts with people who will be running this program. That is the reason for the timeline for this school. It has nothing to do with a new board or not a new board. or wanting to shove something through. It has 100% to do with the timeline that makes it a viable program. It makes it able to function efficiently for the students for next year. And we cannot take every single decision that we make, cannot take 3 years. This is 2022. The world is moving along without us. If we have to sit here and nitpick over whether we pay $10 less or $10 more than other people in the state for a class, it's time for this board to make a decision. I appreciate Colonel Surrey wants to make some statements, but I hope that we go to the vote soon because this topic has been exhausted, in my opinion.
Thank you. I think what we're going to do is we have Colonel Surrey and every other board member has had an opportunity to speak. But I did have Mr. Sampson and Mr. Doran on the list. And after that, we will go to the vote because unless Colonel Alvarado, is there anything you want to add? Okay, everyone has had an opportunity and then we'll go to the vote. Colonel Surrey.
I'll make it short. I fully support this for the kind of reasons everyone's talked about. It presents great opportunities. I personally had this 30 years ago. Took a few classes. It was a joint venture with the local university, and it definitely helped me going into the next step into college. And when I look at these tracks, like the engineering track, I would have given anything to have this capability before going to one of the better engineering schools, in the United States, because I struggled tremendously my first couple of years. And then back to the military community, we're always looking for more options because exactly what you were saying, our kids are moving in and moving out, and what best fits them depending on where they're at in their education. This gives them that opportunity no matter where they're at. So 100% support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Surrey. I have Mr. Doran and then Mr. Sampson, and then we'll go to the vote.
You had it the reverse, so.
Oh, I apologize. All right, Mr. Sampson.
Yeah, I just wanted to be clear that I don't want my comments to be taken out of context. We had someone come forward and offer public testimony, and they put forward the question, why would we not wait? The question wasn't, why are we doing it now? If we were doing, to answer the question, why are we doing it now, it's because it's been on our minds for years. It's an existing program that we have. We are in financial woes. It makes sense fiscally. It makes sense for the students. It's the right thing to do. I simply responded to a question, and maybe I'm a little too literal, but that would be a reason as to why I would not wait until tomorrow.
Mr. Doran.
Okay, thank you. I am in support of North Star College, and I am very glad that we started the program. And I was on the board when it first came to the board, and we gave the approval to move ahead with the model that we have and the adjustment during COVID. I look forward to the growth of the program. However, I am very concerned, actually I'm disconcerted that a decision of this financial magnitude, $1.3 million, when we are facing an $11 million deficit that we will be dealing with very shortly and quickly, and that the expenditures exceed by somewhere over $350,000 what our revenues are. And so making that decision with little public knowledge of the details, I think behooves us to rethink this. This has not been publicly noticed, and it's a significant financial impact, and it also has a programmatic impact to existing schools where we are recruiting from our own schools. And what's the point,
Point
please?
of order. What's the point of order?
That it has been publicly notified. We have notified the public, and he's saying that we haven't. And that's a bold-faced lie.
Can I address that, please?
I'm going to
That's
uphold
casting
that.
aspersions. Okay, I will continue my comments and remove that one. But I would say, go back to what has been posted to the public. So my other points on this action item before us is that there are implications for our high school programs, and that that should really be considered. What are we talking about in terms of the importance of a high school experience versus a college experience? These programs have been around for a long time. As the Colonel mentioned, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, there were 3-on-3 programs. These have been around. There should be information available, and we should be able to get detailed information. The simple math does not add up when I look at the numbers. Give me better numbers, clearer, explain it to me better. I understand they're more complicated than simple math, but that's important. The other thing is that I am concerned not only for students who might be part of North Star College, but students throughout our district and what the implications are for them. We are also expecting the other high schools to pick up services to North Star College students. We have not really talked about what that impact has on them for students who may take classes back at their home attendance area school. What support services they will access there. That is asking more of our teachers and such and support staff there and our principals. The other thing I'm very concerned about is that we are, this is premised on basically cutting 3 teaching positions out of the secondary schools, even before we get to the budget consideration. And this is a cut that comes ahead of time, impacts teachers early in the process. And we are going to be facing many cuts. I think it is premature on this. I hope we can move forward on some growth of the program. At this particular time, I think it is not in our district's best students, in our best interest, or our students' best interest. And that is what I'm most concerned about. And I do want to just finish with the fact that I am stating truth, and I take exception to being disparaged by a board member. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Richardson, can we have the vote, please?
Colonel Alvarado,
Yes.
Colonel Surrey,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
No.
Mrs. Sanderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mrs. Luke.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank our administration for all the hard work and efforts that they put into this, as well as our university system for working and for the great partnership that we have. We appreciate that, and we look forward to the expansion of this program. Last on our list, we have Association of Alaska School Boards, AASB Board of Directors nomination. Core value, center everything we do in this on the student and student learning. I apologize. I'm missing a sheet here. Nope, I got it right here. goal and objective, create an environment that supports the strengths and needs of staff so they can create a safe climate where students thrive. Nominations for the Association of Alaska School Boards AASB Board of Directors require official action by a school board on which a nominee is a member. The application packet of Board Clerk Choya Sanderson is before the board for consideration. Can I get a motion, please?
Move to nominate Ms. Troya Sanderson for the AASB Board of Directors candidate.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor and it's been seconded. And with this, before I turn some time over to Ms. Sanderson, I do just want to state Mrs. Sanderson has been on their board of directors. This would be her second term in this office and in this capacity as she represents our district at the state level with AASB. I put the nomination forward for Mrs. Sanderson to continue in this position and represent our district and our board, especially with all of the years of service that are behind Mrs. Sanderson. Mrs. Sanderson, would you like to discuss it a little further?
No, I just want to thank the board for their recommendation.
Is there anything from administration?
No, nothing at this time.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Doran.
Thank you. I want to speak in support of Ms. Sanderson's nomination and from the perspective of also serving with her on the AASB Board of Directors. Ms. Sanderson brings a very important and unique perspective to that broader body that works on behalf of school boards throughout the state. She is very much involved. She keeps very, very student-centered. We've heard her speak to this at our own board meetings as she has worked on the June Nelson Scholarship Committee, which supports students in our state. She's passionate about kids. She's passionate about the work that AASB can do, and by that manner, also what our board can do for students throughout the state. So she's a great spokesperson for that. The other thing that I think is really important is Fairbanks happens to be the second largest district member in AASB, and it's important for us to be at the table to hear from other boards around the state, what their concerns are, the commonalities that we have. We share students between and among our districts on a very regular basis. And she very admirably represents our perspective as a district, our community's perspective, and then also the interests of students across the state. She's not just working for one, she's working for all. And so I very gladly support her in this, and I'm glad that she is, again, willing to step forward for renomination to this position. And I look forward to seeing her approved when AASB meets in November.
Seeing no. Oh, I apologize. Was there any public comments or testimony on this agenda item? There was nothing written down, so I skipped over it. Was there any public comment or testimony? Seeing none. Public testimony is now closed. I apologize. Seeing no other comments from board members, can we get the vote?
Colonel Surrey,
Yes.
Colonel Alvarado,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Sampson,
Yes.
Mrs. Matheson,
Yes.
Mr. Doran,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Luke.
Yes.
Motion carried.
You got 100% on that vote, Mrs. Sanderson.
Thank you.
That doesn't happen every day. I know. Yeah. Last, we have board comments and committee reports. Goals and objectives: ensure students, staff, families, and the community are informed, connected, and engaged with the district. I will start with Mr. Doran since he is online. Is there anything that you would like to end with?
Yes, thank you. Two things I'd like to highlight. One is being mindful of our board norms, that we are respectful, and that if we have contention with a board member, that we deal with that privately. And I do want to say that I appreciate the comments tonight by board members, generally focusing very much on their sincere interest in care for kids. And I think that's really, really important for us. And wanted to say thank you to the board for that. The other thing is that just two highlights that strike me, having recently visited several of the elementary schools and a middle school, that just a shout out to teachers that visiting music programs, the creativity that schools have taken to offer some band and orchestra exposure. Some they have a plan for 2-year offerings while kids see everything. But music teachers stepping up and saying, hey, I've got this talent, I can do it, we can work with it. Teachers, fellow teachers working together to say, hey, how do we carve out that time? We still get every student get their general music, we get our preps, they're interlinked. But how do we support students across the board? And that creativity and the principals working with them then and working out those details. It's really impressive to see that team effort at the middle school, seeing how the transition, how they've worked for the transition for 6th graders, not only in making sure they get included in band orchestra, but also working as teams, putting that together. Again, great kudos to the principals, teachers, and the support staff, along with the students to make this all work. And I want to really highlight that wonderful news for our district, and I look forward to continuing visits and seeing, again, those creative partnerships focused on the education of students. So with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you. Colonel Surrey.
No comment.
Colonel Alvarado.
No comment.
Mr. Sampson.
Thank you, Madam President. That will be the last time I call you that.
I still have till October 31st at noon.
Well, I stand corrected. If I see you on the street, I will refer to you as Madam President. Well, first and foremost, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the community for putting trust in me to be a representative here. It's been an honor to serve the community over the last 3 years. I've worked extremely hard to represent my values and those of the community. I fought long and hard to get the masks off the students, to get the students out of remote learning and back into the classroom. I have fought for the students and the staff's rights to be free from compelled speech. I have fought for appropriate content to be placed in front of our children. I have fought for parental rights, the right to be informed of content within the schoolhouse gates, the rights of parents to control and direct their child's education. I have fought for the rights of all students to be respected, opposed to that of a select few. I have fought for fiscal responsibility and utter transparency. Although my time on this board has essentially come to an end, I can assure you I will continue to be an advocate for these matters, and I will continue to pray others here today and those to come will do the same. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Mrs. Sanderson?
Thank you, President Luke. The Diversity Committee will meet at 5 p.m. October the 20th here in the boardroom, and some, I guess, by Zoom. There are vacant, 2 vacancies that were on the Diversity Committee have been filled. And we still are not done with all the work that the ad hoc committee brought forward concerning our boards. So we'll see how that gets addressed once the new board's in place. Also, on behalf of the June Nelson Memorial Scholarship Committee, I still am seeking any artisan artwork that you'd like for me to pack an extra suitcase to take down to Anchorage. I'm going to Juneau. Y'all going to Anchorage. I'd look forward to that if you could either email me or give me a call, and I can make arrangements to pick that up. And again, this is in honoring June Nelson, which is a longtime school board member from Kotzebue. She contributed much to the cause of education and will be remembered for her outstanding service on behalf of Alaskan children. This scholarship is made possible and funded by individual contributions of school board members and administrations from across the state. So thank you for that. Oh, one more thing, sorry. Shout out to North Pole High for their, were you gonna go there? For their national recognition of unified schools with their special O.
Thank you, Ms. Sanderson. I can donate one of my paintings. We'll get together. Mrs. Smith?
Thank you. Yes, the North Pole banner presentation was pretty exciting. I was really proud of how many people from across the community turned out, the mayor and legislators, and a lot of people from different schools who just came out there to support our students. And it was really fun because it wasn't just a boring presentation of a banner. The Special Olympics played some basketball for us, and the Nanoks were there, and it was just a real outpouring of our entire community supporting our special education students. I wanted to take this time to thank Mr. Sampson and Ms. Luke for the various ways that they have helped and supported me since I've been on this board, and I look forward to seeing them stay engaged with the school and coming back for testimony like Miss Dominique and still giving us their 2 cents on our matters. So appreciate your service and look forward to continuing to see you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Matheson?
Thank you. So I've got a little list. Sorry, it's going to be a little long. But I did want to congratulate the football team, Lathrop. Even though I'm a Wolfpacker, I am just so tickled that they won the championship, the state championship. So congratulations to the team and to Coach Bailash. I wanted to remind parents and community members that wrestling, basketball, cross-country skiing, hockey, Model UN, drama, and concerts are all up and going. Please support our students. They want us to show up. They may tell us that they don't want to. They may shake their heads, out in the audience, but they do want us to show up. There's a big, big correlation between successful students and the parents that show up. So I'm pleading with parents and community members, show up and support our students. Parent-teacher conferences are at the end of the month, October 31st through November 1st. Sign up. If you can't make it those days, teachers are wonderful and they will communicate with you. So please reach out to them. We're going to have a budget committee meeting tomorrow here at 5:30. And we do post it. So there, if you can't make it, you can always hear it. And I did want to thank both of you, Mr. Sampson and Mrs. Luke. Thank you for all of the support. When I first got on the board, I had no clue what to expect, and both of you have been extremely supportive. So I just want to thank you, and I do want to see you guys out there giving us your 2 cents, because you guys are very important and you guys know what's going on and you guys know what it's like to be in the seat. So we value your opinion very much. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Matheson. Mrs. Moline?
Thank you, President Luke. I would like to reiterate what Ms. Mathewson said about parent-teacher conferences. This is the opportunity for parents to engage, if they don't on a regular basis, to engage with their students, teachers, and the school community. So that's happening. Mark that on your calendar. We successfully finished the first quarter of the 22-23 school year. It was a successful quarter. So congratulations to the teachers and the students for their first quarter. I too would once again like to add my appreciation to Mrs. Luke and Mr. Sampson for their service to the community and to the district. As I said earlier in my comments, it's a tough job. It's been an incredibly tough job the last 3 years, and it just happened to be your 3 years. So thank you for sitting in the chair. And finally, I would like to acknowledge the best bargain that the United States have ever made, and that's the purchase of the territory of Alaska on March 30th, 1867, and it was October 18th, 1867, that the formal flag raising happened in Fort Sitka. And so today we celebrate the absolute best bargain the United States ever got at $7.2 million, and we call it now home, the state of Alaska.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Moline. I just want to end by saying thank you. Thank you to our community for the opportunity to serve you. Thank you for the educators for allowing me to visit you in your classrooms, at your schools. Thank you to the administration for allowing me to go to those whose knowledge go beyond my own, and were able to help me understand some complicated situations. I appreciate you. Thank you to our students who go to school every day, work hard for their future. I am grateful for this opportunity because I feel as though I am better because of it. I am more compassionate towards others' plight. I am more understanding. I know I talk a lot, but I have learned to shut my mouth and utilize my ears more often. I am grateful for the unwavering support that I have received from my family and those that are close to me. I am grateful for those bonds and relationships that I have been able to make over the last few years. And just because I will not be sitting at this seat does not mean that I'm going anywhere out of this community. I married a local boy, so therefore we're staying here forever. And I am not upset about that. I have to kind of gloat on that local boy that I married, Michael. He, when I became president, made me this beautiful gavel. It is quite a bit larger than the regular gavel. But I have really enjoyed utilizing it over this past year. And it puts a smile on my face every time I get to use it. I just will make sure not to carry it anywhere outside of a boardroom. It might be considered a weapon, I'm not quite sure. But with that being said, thank you, and I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Anyone oppose? Seeing none, we're adjourned.